My name is Malik. Welcome to ESTNN. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Joining me today is Renegades Berghy. How you doing?
I'm great. What's up, Malik?
What was your first introduction to Valorant?
I actually, Asu, he's my old teammate from CS. I was watching his stream and I was like, Riot Counter-Strike. Valorant had been a rumor for like about 5 years in the Counter-Strike community. We kind of knew it was coming, and I saw him playing it, and I popped in his stream, and like a few minutes later, I got a key, and I was like, well, I'll try it out when I get home. And everyone hit me up. They're like, you want to join a team here and there? And I was like, yep, we're doing it.
That seems to be kind of like the common theme with a lot of Counter-Strike players is they saw somebody else playing it, they got a key, and then like the rest is history.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it immediately hooked me.
Yeah, what was it about the game that made you like want to get competitive and kind of hooked you?
I mean, it was the same, tac shooter, the 5v5, I fell in love with Counter-Strike, but like, shiny and new, and the agents, I actually like them kind of a lot, like right off the start, just because I like the whole dynamic of everyone has like a different role. Like the roles are a little bit more defined in that way.
Right.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's one of the nicer things about Valorant is it's kind of set itself apart, not only in looks, but in the play style. So, I mean, the game has evolved a lot. How do you feel about the evolution of Valorant so far? I know we've had a lot of map changes, a lot of agent changes.
Yeah, it's like changed into something I definitely wouldn't have thought of a few months ago. The way the game's played right now is so different, and you're finally like, you're starting to see teams develop their own styles as opposed to everyone just playing like what used to be the right way. Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of teams running different comps now. Now that more agents are coming out. And as more maps come in and the map pool gets kind of crazy, it's going to be really interesting.
Right. So today, actually, Sky and Icebox are going to start getting their way into the competitive Valorant scene. How do you feel about Sky and Icebox being available for First Strike? You feel like it's too soon? Or?
No, I think they did it right. I mean, they've been around for quite some time now. We've all had time to prepare and play around with them, and if you wanted to, and the whole separate patch line for the qualifier was, I feel like that's the right way to do it.
Right.
But I'm excited. I like new stuff. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all the teams kind of adapt to it. You play a lot of Omen, obviously. What is it about that agent that kind of drew you in and made you choose him?
So I mean, just being the IGL, I kind of take a backseat to everyone else for what they want to play, and I just ended up on Omen. I like him, but I don't know. You kind of see these teams go two ways. You got like us and C9, and the guys that put the IGL on the Omen with the smokes. So IGL doesn't have to be like smoke heaven, smoke spawn. You just do it. Right. And then you have like TSM and the other guys, they'll put the IGL on like a Sova, something like that, or you can get away with Cypher, but that didn't work for us. We tried that as well. So just me on Omen made a lot of sense from just like how the team developed.
Right.
But I like him now. I'm getting used to it.
Well, and I'm sure that the patch 1.0 changes when they gave him a little bit more control over his smokes helped a lot. Made it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So talk about kind of your experience as in-game leader for Renegades. How have you been kind of settling into that role?
There's been a little bit of I've changed a little bit with it. It's hard to say. I feel really confident as the IGL now, but I definitely made like mistakes on like how to prepare and like how to play the game. Like coming up to our tournament, I don't know if you remember the Renegades tournament, and then there's kind of like a switch flipped after that, and I just kind of changed how I'm gonna see the game, and I'm like, this is Valorant, it's not Counter-Strike. I'm gonna be a Valorant player, so I kind of went away from being like a CS IGL, and I felt like I kind of like developed like my own Valorant style, I guess. that makes sense.
From the shadows, makes it over to B, takes down the turret and puts the spike down. The problem is his support has been cut off at middle. Now he must clutch this alone, 1 versus 3.
That's full HP. Has 1 dark cover to play with. It has to come down to timing. Great headshot onto Relics, but now his position is compromised. They know exactly where Berghy resides. They have to cross, though, if they want to get to the spike. Oh my god! Berghy lines them up, knocks them down.
Right, and we've seen T1 completely kind of switch their playstyle. You know, when they picked up Dazed and he became their in-game leader, you can kind of see how each player views the game and how that kind of reflects onto the team. You got signed to Renegades, you know, just in time for the PAX Arena, and then you guys had your own tournament, obviously. What was kind of that first big tournament experience like for you guys, you know, working together, going up against some of these top tier organizations?
It was kind of crazy. I mean, you know, you go on like VLR and like, oh, we got a match today, and it's just like Renegades versus Cloud9, and I'm like, I guess that's me, you know. But as far as like preparation for the matches went, we've kind of all done this a long time, so it was just like any other match, really. That's about it. It was definitely cool playing against all the big names, though. Like, it's still crazy to me. Like, I play TSM on the 3rd, you know, it's like TSM. Right.
And how do you feel about going into that match?
We're pretty confident. You know, if you look at kind of our past with TSM, when they were kind of dominating and 2-0ing everyone, we were one of the only teams that would get maps on them. And, you know, we kind of had a little bit of dip in performance, but after the qualifiers, everyone on the team, you know, feels pretty much like we can beat anyone.
Right.
It's just gonna be a matter of just like who prepares better, I think, because it's one BO3. You know, you gotta show up.
Yeah, and one of the things that TSM has been so good at is, you know, they start off really slow, but then they get that momentum either halfway through the first map or into map 2. But you guys are pretty good about stopping teams once they start getting that momentum. You're pretty good at resetting the pace. You know, it seems like we got a lot of storylines going into NA Valorant. You know, you've lost to TSM a bunch. But how do you guys feel about your performance at the Nerd Street Gamers Closed Qualifier when you guys were competing? You know, obviously you lost to Envy a little bit earlier than you would have liked to, but how do you feel about your performance overall?
So for the qualifier, as soon as we got our group, we kind of, you know, figured if we got out of the group, we put everything into Cloud9. That's all we were prepared for. You know, make top 4, and then we'll just play like we have nothing to lose after that. So we put a lot of preparation into Cloud9, and it was crazy. I mean, you know, we just came out and we did the whole Renegades thing, you know, go A, go B, knock down the door, and it just worked. They didn't have an answer. And then, I mean, you should have heard the comms after the game. We were just all crazy. We couldn't believe it. It's like, we just beat Cloud9, going to first strike.
Yeah, that was a huge upset. That was a really big one. And now we won't see Cloud9 at all. You guys were one of the deciding factors on whether or not they were going to make it. How do you guys feel that we don't see like Cloud9 and Gen G and some of these other like really big teams?
Yeah. So like the NA, there's so many orgs in the NA scene. If you just look at VLR, you know, you see like the top 15, there's going to be big name orgs not in the tournament. And, you know, we all kind of knew that going into it. I almost feel like you could almost think of the closed qualifiers as like group stages for this tournament in a way, because like top 8 teams with how many big names there are, you know, it's you know, it's upsetting not to see Cloud9 there, but I'm sure they'll bounce back and be in everything else.
Right. What are so I mean, regardless of whatever happens at First Strike, how do you feel that you have evolved as a player?
I mean, it's been nothing but up. I didn't go full time, so we signed in June, and you know, the support allowed me to go full time around September. And I've been, you know, really just treating it as a professional since then, you know, waking up a little earlier, doing IGL things, playing more, things like that. And I mean, it's like night and day to where I was in the summer as like a in-game leader, a player. And I feel like the team feels that way as well. We're a completely different team now. So just kind of the mindset switch of how we play the game. That was the big thing for us, and just seeing how that's played out and worked for us.
Right. And what are some goals that you guys have set for yourselves going into next year?
So even from like the beginning, we even before we were signed, our goal as a team was, if we can solidify ourselves as top 4 in NA, anything international we'll probably be at. So that's always been the goal, was to really stay in that top 4, make the international events and everything. And that's the goal we have for First Strike as well. Like, you know, we want to win. But I mean, if we make top 4, I feel like it's a job well done.
Themselves. And Renegades, I think, just took notes away from the first time they played. Now over towards A Heaven. Randy for 2. Berghy gonna try to get